Okay, so the first video that I made, I went through how I prepped for the Appalachian Trail, everything I got prior, and now I'm going to actually share what I ended up using and what I finished with, because I think that's more important. For example, I will be showing you what I didn't even end up needing, using, and that way it will help simplify your process if you ever decide to do the AT later. So all of these boxes, all of this stuff, was all stuff I planned, wrote out, and ended up not needing any of this at all. Now I will say, this sleeping bag right here that I talked about, along with, I ended up using the Thermo Rest, but the winter one, and it's gray, it's the winter Thermo Rest. So I ended up using those two things when it was still cold, and that was for like the winter, and then I switched out when it did get warmer. All right, so I am going to now go over the gear that I actually finished with and used the entire time, along with how I actually packed my backpack as well. So to start off, these Nylofoam bags, I got them off of Garage Gear. I ended up buying like quite a few and ended up only needing this one the entire time, and I never got a hole in it. So highly suggest them, they are wonderful. So I used this for my sleeping bag for when it was cold, and then when I switched out, I did use the Rumpel blanket. And so I kept my Rumpel blanket on me along with a liner. And the liner was great, especially during summer, because it was even too hot most of the time to even use this blanket. But when I got up north, I actually loved the fact that I kept this, because then I hit back to 40 degrees, but it still wasn't cold enough to bring back my sleeping bag, so I just did this. And so how I would pack it was in this bag. It would be, I haven't washed them yet, they smell so bad. So I put this in along with my puffy, because this was normally, I kept this the entire time with me. Up north, glad I kept it, but most of the time it was my pillow anyway. So the puffy and all of this, I would put in this bag, and this. I'd get it as small as I could, get all the air out, and twist it. Now, with my backpack, I had a bottom zipper. So this Osprey has this bottom zipper part for a sleeping system. For a while there, I did have a different bag that I hated, and I ended up bringing this bag back. That one didn't. But when you're packing your backpack, if you don't have the option of this bottom zipper, you just want your sleeping system on the bottom. So I'll put that in real quick. And this gives the rest of your stuff a great place to sit on without it necessarily moving around a lot. And on top of that, it also provides a lot of cushion right on your lower back. And plus, anything of the heavy also helps compress it, which then you can also help put more stuff in as well. Pack my clothes bag, and this is optional. Some people did not keep their clothes in even a waterproof bag. I did, especially because sometimes it would be like weeks and weeks and weeks and just rain, and you're always wet, and so this kind of helped eliminate even my clothes getting wet. So I personally kept my clothes, and I just used these, nothing special, just, these Columbia PF dry bags. And I personally, a lot of people didn't, I personally had town clothes, which were the shorts and just this merino wool t-shirt. And then I always kept a gaiter on me, even though during the summer I didn't really use the gaiter, but I more had this for when it got cold. So the beginning and the end, because if it got cold enough, I'd actually sleep with this on over my mouth and nose. And yes, that sounds uncomfortable, but for me, it really helped the condensation from forming inside my tent. Had an extra sports bra along with the one sports bra I was wearing, so I only ever had carried around one extra sports bra. I had called these were my pajamas. So this pair of pants and long sleeve merino wool, when it was, unless it was really hot, then it was the shorts and t-shirt, and then these became my town clothes. When it was cold, these were my pajamas, the short and t-shirt were town clothes. So these were my PJs, and then I always kept a beanie on me, even when it was hot during summer. Kept a pair of gloves, and then I had the special icebreaker underwear, so like merino wool underwear. So I kept the one I wore and 2 extra pairs with me as well. And my socks were most of the ones I would always start out wearing, and you can see them. So I did NG toe socks to help with the blisters. These are so worn out at this point that they have holes in them. So these would be the ones I'd actually wear starting off. And then you can see like how worn my pack of socks were, and I would put these actually over top of those. So those were the socks I'd wear. I only would keep them for 4 days, and then I'd switch out my socks because they got way too crusty for my liking. And then I'd be able to wear these for 4 more days. And these ones I just doubled up twice on the pack of socks. And I was always wearing my one pair of pants and my sun hoodie when I was hiking. So these were always on my body hiking. But the sun hoodie, and I preferred hiking in pants the whole time. Most people didn't. But mine was, one, less sunscreen. I only really had to worry about, like, I would bring a sunscreen stick, and that would be my face and my fingertips. And I'd most of the time hike with a hat as well, just to keep myself totally not having to deal with sun. Plus it helped, even though I had poison ivy multiple times, it helped with poison ivy. And then the scratches and stuff from, walking through brush plus sunburn. If you can't tell, I'm fair-skinned, so I didn't want to have to deal with all that. So then once all of my stuff got put into here, I would press it, get all of the air out, twist it up like so. Have to fast forward these. All right. And then this would go in the bottom portion along with next to my sleeping pad. And for the rest of the time, once I got rid of, I used Thermarest and inflatable sleeping pad the entire time. I just switched out which kind. So I started with their thicker winter one, and then for summer I just went with their normal Thermarest, and it's yellow. I kept it in the blow bag itself, so this would help me blow it up in the evenings. And I'd wrap it through here, and this would go next to on the back side of, so I would put this towards my back, the sleeping pad, the clothes would towards the front, and those would be my base layer in here. So, and then and then I always kept 2 contracting bags, like, the thick leaf bags, trash bags. Those were the 2 that would go in. I'm just had this sitting out, this trash bag with all my stuff in it from bringing it back, and so I just threw a trash bag to demonstrate, but I would use 2 contractor bags together in case one got a hole to help with getting water in my bag in this top section as well. So you can see, maybe, so that's my base layer. Now, in this bag, which is the Thermarest bag, I have scrunched in here a emergency blanket. I kept an emergency blanket on me at all times, even during the summer, just in case, but especially when it started getting cold again up north, I actually would put this, if I knew it was going to be 45 or below, I would actually put this on my tent floor and sleep on this to help insulate the inside of my tent and to help keep me warmer. This was a lifesaver. I slept so much better, warmer, because like I said, I just kept my rumple blanket the entire time with the liner. So when it got to the low 40s, high 30s, this saved me. Especially because a lot of times it was still wet. And that just kind of gets pushed on the top too, because it all squishes and makes one level. And next thing I would pack up was my electronic bag. So once again, it's just a lot smaller, and I used another, the Columbia, dry bag that I'd already had. And so in here, what I would put is, I kept my hairbrush, then my electronic bag would go in here. So my electronic bag, also all my electronics went into a plastic bag and then in this. And what I would keep in here are any of the chargers that I needed, my charging bank, and then that's my headphones. And then I'd put that in here. And then what I would also keep in this bag was my headlamp. Now, I've only just bought this current headlamp. So through the end of my hike, so I originally started with the black diamond headlamp. It was not rechargeable. I had to keep putting batteries in it. And then my boyfriend gave me his headlamp, which was this brand. It's like Fox Ellie is the name of it. Now, this is a rechargeable one. I did a ton of night hiking during summer and near the end anyway. Most of my night hiking was actually technically in the morning because I love to catch sunrises. So I'd leave at 2:30 sometimes in the morning. And this, even with that many hours, would last me easily 3 days, probably more. I never gave it a chance to I always charged about day 3. And then what I loved about this one too is it's red light along with the normal light. It has a couple settings. But so he let me use his, and the best part is because the black diamond ones can actually be very expensive. I also tried another brand that didn't work as well that's also expensive. This on Amazon was $12, and by far, so far of all the headlamps I've tried, the best headlamp I've ever used. And then so this guy also went in here. Once I just got bit by something. See, this is why I also wore pants all the time. Bugs. Helped with bug bites and things crawling on me. So, all the air out. Roll it up. And then this little guy would go in here as well. And I put more towards this front because then my food bag would go here. Now, I will say I used to, at the start, do a camping stove. The camping stove, along with the electronics, were put side by side, and then I would do my food bag. I ended up I was doing so many miles, and then I just never felt like cooking, not even cooking, because I was doing backpacking meals with boiling water. I got tired of even doing that because I was just doing such long days. I was waking up early, leaving around, depending, 2:30 to 5:30, and then I'd hike up to about nighttime because I was doing 20 plus miles a day. And I also, when I started, as you guys know, you could go see that lovely, lovely, horrible first YouTube video I put out about how I prepped and everything. I'm keeping it up for reference because I think it's funny, but I did start with a beer canister, and then I finally, after multiple people were like, what are you doing? Just do a food bag. I ended up doing a food bag. So I just went in and bought a 20-liter dry bag. This one's the Sea to Summit. This one's super thin. And this became my food bag. And then within that, because I like to, some people don't, I liked to be organized. I had multiple bags, so like this would be my, like, I guess lunch dinner bag that I would have. And then I would have another bag. Right now they're kind of all empty, but you know, they were these smell proof or big with Ziplocs. And then another bag that was just like my sweets and candy. And then another bag that was, you know, kept for whatever reason I kept the lighters though, even though I wasn't cooking food anymore. Kept these for like lunch, and then I had a snack bag. So I was able to kind of keep everything organized that way, so I knew which ones I would need to grab. And what I can do real quick is I should have, I can kind of show you too, like, right, what I would pack on for, what I'd pack for lunches or dinners. So pepperoni was huge. I was to the point where I got so tired of tuna and like the chicken stuff that it was pepperoni for lunch and dinner. And what I would do is I'd do these Ritz crackers with tortillas, okay? So I would put a package of Ritz crackers on a tortilla, and I'd eat 2 tortillas, break those into 6, and like half a bag of pepperonis. I eat so many pepperonis, I would not be surprised if my tooth started smelling like pepperoni, to be honest. Don't know why I shared that, but there you go. And so however many days before I needed food, I would just kind of count all that up. I would, just cause occasionally, yes, put a couple more of these on a tortilla as well to kind of, you know, mix it up. And then I'd always count how many tortillas I would need. So these would go in the special, like, the pepperoni and whatnot would go in that. So then breakfast. All right. Breakfast was normally, it was a Cliff Bar and 2 other types of granola bars. So about 3 bars was just breakfast. I would always have a Nutter Butter as well. And let's see. Always finish the day with a Snickers. Just always. And then for snacks, I would throw in a couple more bars. And I would still do like nuts. So I would count out how many days, but that is practically what I ate the entire time. I'd mix up the types of bars just to give myself a variety. And then, but really the pepperoni stayed constant along with those Ritz crackers and tortillas. Surprisingly, I'm not tired of those yet, even though I can't really eat tuna packets anymore. But yeah, and then sometimes I'd get fancy and actually eat some Spam. But that was very rare because it's hard to find. Sometimes it can be really hard to find the actual like Spam packets that are like this instead of the can. Never would do can. Because you still really have to think of weight. And I would also, I don't have any right now, but I'd also pack out honey buns. I'd always have honey buns because you could get honey buns that had like 700 calories in them. And what was important was always getting enough calories for the less weight as possible. And then I also would have my drink packet, little Ziploc that would go in here as well. And the things that I always had to have in my drink packets for me personally was AG1 greens. I had one of these every day, electrolyte packets, and then I swear I need Celsius to sponsor me for my next thru hike because these are what got me through. Not kidding. These helped me so much. And all of those would go in this little bag. That would be my food bag. We would, I'm not gonna lie, whatever bit me earlier, I can like feel it. Same thing, scrunch down. This would go on top of here. So once all of that got packed in here, it would all kind of depend on if it was raining or not, then how I would pack the tent. If it was raining, I'd close this bag, and then the tarp of the tent would actually go in a side pocket, and my main part of the tent would go folded on top of here instead of in the bag. If it wasn't raining, the dry tent would, and this is the tarp, or not the tarp, sorry, the fly, whatever in the actual tent, would go on top of the trash bag and get folded up. On top, I would always keep that on top. And my raincoat, if I didn't need my raincoat, would always then get folded and put on top of my tent, like so. Alrighty. Alright, now to show you what went into this little top pocket. So this mesh portion, that would get folded under. For whatever reason, just in case, you never know, emergency, if you can't scream, be loud, I always kept a whistle on me. Then, I don't know why, I had what was called an emergency poncho. I never used said emergency poncho. I never needed it, I guess, but I kept that there. Not saying you need it, because I never used it, but for what I'm just going through what I ended with, so that was that in there. And then I also had in here somehow I lost the little bag itself, but it was like the little Maxac bag that my old Maxac raincoat came in before that had gotten worn out. And within that little Maxac bag, I kept certain, I always kept Pepno in there. And then these were special herbs that helped with inflammation, kind of like what people take for arthritis, and that helped so much when it came to like joint pain and stuff like that. For the most part, that is what helped me to not need either Advil, ibuprofen. I didn't start using that until the end. And then near the end, my body was just dying. So I was like taking it 3 times a day. This was, damn it, sorry. These were enzymes. Eating the kind of food I was eating, a lot of times my body was not happy with me. So enzymes really helped digest it all. Now, all of these went in that little Maxac bag and then also went into the top of this mesh pocket fold over. This pocket, this one I always left my medical stuff, and because I really had to start taping my feet a lot, so I had little gauze pads, I kept tape on me, and even though carrying around, most people would not have carried around bigger creams, I always kept poison ivy cream on me that the doctor gave me because of how bad I got poison ivy on the trail, and this was a lifesaver, even near the end, because you would think someone would learn her lesson. But near the end, the last week before I summited, I ended up with poison ivy again because she wasn't paying attention to where she peed. Luckily, it was on my left buttocks down my leg and nowhere worse, if you get where I'm going with that. But this still helped, so I always kept this on me. And near the beginning, when I didn't realize I should change out my socks, and I was, by golly, going to wear the same pair of pack of socks from those 2,000 miles, I ended up with a flesh-eating bacteria on the bottom of my foot. So, I ended up keeping this bacteria cream on me as well to just kind of occasionally put on my feet. And I started cleaning, like switching out my socks, as I showed earlier, and that was a lifesaver. Plus drying my socks out. I actually learned that it was important to, during the midday, to take your shoes off and kind of let your feet air dry, so you did not end up with that flesh-eating bacteria again. But so this would go in here along with I always kept, if I wasn't wearing the hat went into that pocket, and my bathroom stuff. So I did always kind of keep some panty liners on me. I used the disc, and let me tell you, the disc during this little disc, it's really dirty right now just because of mud, so ignore that. Like, this helped so much, and honestly made, you know, if you're watching this, close your ears, it made that time of the month a lot easier. And then the only bad thing was, for the most of the time, I was actually using those little compact wipes, and I was using the brand Pact, and they were wonderful. And then I ran out, and I just never bothered to get any things new, so then I just started carrying baby wipes on me instead of toilet paper. Now, the only thing is, if you are going to do baby wipes, as gross as it is, you have to pack it out. Yes, it sounds really gross, but if you're going to be using baby wipes in the woods, please pack these out if you do bring those. So then I would always have like the extra trash bag in here to pack out and dispose properly. At the beginning of the hike, I did have a actual little shovel to, you know, if I needed to dig a cat hole to use. I did accidentally lose that shovel. I don't know what happened to it, lost it. Luckily, there are always sticks around. So I honestly just used a stick the whole time, and then it just helped make my pack even lighter because I didn't have to carry the shovel. But when going to the bathroom in the woods, just make sure you do it properly, and to keep everything, you know, safe. But this would go in this pocket as well. And then, alright, this front portion. Alright, this pocket. Alright, so this pocket in the front, right here, this would, so quick story here about my Nemo tent. I started with the Nemo one-person tracker. It ended up, I can't believe I went 500 miles with this because it never worked from the start, but the rain fly never actually really worked. It would end up holding water and it was so hard to dry. When I went to trail days, Nemo's customer service is so spot on. They even, alright, hold on. I'll start with this story and go to the next, but their customer service is amazing. So when I went to trail days, I showed them my tent, and they were just like, they took a look at it and they're like, oh, that's not correct. They ended up giving me a brand new tent right there and told me that they would take my old one back to the shop. If they could fix it, they would mail it back. If not, they wouldn't. So for that first tent, I had the footprint along with the tent. Now, I didn't get the footprint with the second Nemo tent, the one that they gave me at trail days, and they ended up giving me a two-person, I think it's the Hornet. Hold on, right now I have to check. Tent, the two-person Osmo Hornet tent. And it worked great, whatever. But I personally, some people don't use the footprint. I personally like to have something down, and Tyvek. Never knew how great this stuff was. The best part about and I will never go back to using a footprint because, one, Tyvek is what we put on our house. It actually, you put it a certain way because it's supposed to take out moisture, which is fantastic. It's still lightweight. The best part, cheap. And if it gets a hole or something in it, it's really cheap to replace, unlike a lot of these footprints. So, I will now always just use Tyvek. And that would go here. These are the tent stakes. Those would go in this pocket. As well, over here, the Nemo Hornet poles. Yeah, Hornet Osmo. There you go. I was right. Might have said it backwards, but. And then I'm sitting on it, so I will get off of it. My Nemo sitting pad. This thing, amazing. Highly suggest one of these. Love it. Would put that there. All right, so almost complete. Now for the side pockets and what I call the snacker pockets. The snacker pockets are the belt pockets that I have. And I call them the snacker pockets because that is where I would keep all of my snacks. And then these side pockets, right. Alright, so and then the side pockets right here, I always carry two 1 liter, like either just the 1 liter, you know, Smart water bottle, Life water, whichever, would go on each side. Then on one of the sides would be my filtration device, and I just used the 2 liter CNOC bag, which is great for filtering. And then I ended up, as you know, I started, because this I didn't start with, I ended up getting it after seeing everyone using it and seeing how much easier it was. And then the Sawyer filtration device. So I started with the Smart water. It just took way too long and it wasn't what I needed. And this just honestly made everything so much easier for me. So I would put those here. And one would go on one side. And then the other side pocket, alright, and then the other side pocket would carry my umbrella. I also did not start with an umbrella. One of my friends let me borrow his one day. Freaking fell in love. One of the best purchases. And they're lightweight as well. And they're a backpacking umbrella. They're great. Game changer, alright, especially when out here on the East Coast with all the rain. But yeah, I'd stick one umbrella on this side along with the water. And then on the front, I had hanging this is just one of those REI micro little towel things. This is at the time when I was boiling water, like had tea or something. I'd clean it out that way, but most of the time near the end, it either was to like dry my feet before putting my socks back on, like after a water crossing or something like that. And then I kept these carabiners and would keep my camp shoes, Crocs. Didn't start with this either. I'd hook them and then buckle them on. And that was in case they fell off, I wouldn't like lose one. Some people said I didn't need the carabiners, but I don't know. It helped me just remind that. Slash the carabiners, if I needed to, would also help with a bear hang if I needed to bear hang if there wasn't a box. So then on the bottom is where that rain cover goes. It just folds in nicely right here to help keep everything dry when it is raining. Not really though, because near the end my rain cover just wouldn't even repel rain anyway, and that is why I kept the trash bags. But that is everything that I had packed and finished with on the trail, except for my trekking poles as well. And I love these. I ended up investing. I just had at first a cheaper brand off of Amazon, but they kept collapsing so much and they were a little bit heavier, and I ended up going ahead and investing in the I'm so sorry brand, Lakey brand, Lakey. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. I apologize. But they're great. I love these so much. They worked really well. They're still in great shape. I did put some duct tape on one pole, and as you can see, I actually took it off the other pole and actually needed to use duct tape a little bit at some point, because near the end, thankfully the last like 2 weeks was when my sleeping pad finally got a hole. It lasted like that entire time. Finally got a teeny hole right near the top the little plastic piece where you fill it. And I ended up just super gluing it, threw on some duct tape, worked great the rest of the time. So sometimes you have to, instead of buying all new gear, just super glue and duct tape. But I love this brand too, and they have also a great like warranty with their trekking poles, and they will, need be, if something breaks, send you repair pieces. So that's why I love them. Osprey I love because this bag is finally starting to come apart, and there's a few like holes and then seams that are ripping, and Osprey will either repair or give you a new bag too. So they have a great lifetime warranty. And Nemo, like I said, hands down some of the best customer service for Nemo I've ever had. I even had one of my tent poles break, and they instantly, really quickly sent me a new piece to fix it. So but like I said, that is all the gear that I actually finished with hiking the AT. So did quite a few changes, learned a lot of what I didn't actually need, and all of it was to preference. Like, some people still did cook and carry their stoves through the whole thing. I just was one who decided to give up on that. Some people cold soak, so it's all kind of preference in some of it and how you want to carry it. Some people have even less than what I had, to try to keep it super ultra light. I did also, as I said, had one of the ultralight backpacks that I switched to, because I was like, oh, everyone's doing ultralight, like I'm gonna switch. Personally, after trying it, for me, I hated the bag. So I went back to my Osprey. I just love the way the Osprey carries itself and the padding that it has, the comfort level for me personally. So I will always be an Osprey fan as well. But if you are deciding to do a thru hike or even get starting on backpacking, I just wanted to show what I actually used for my entire thru hike and what I actually finished with, because that's the important part. And also all of that planning and packing the boxes and all of that I ended up doing, I did not need. The only thing I ended up having my mom mail me was dog food, when he was hiking with me full time. And besides that, she would send me some of my supplements too, but all the food I had pre-packed, I didn't want to eat it. And it was so much easier just to get food in town when you had a town run, or and it was a lot easier doing that. I also, when I was planning, thought I'd be out a lot longer, like between 5 to 8 days, and I didn't. I was able to only have to carry about 2, like 5 days at max food, which is great too on helping on how heavy your backpack is. So I really hope you find this video helpful. Hopefully my editing skills have gotten better. I also learned a little more tricks. And like I said, I am keeping what I started with video up, because I think that really shows how much I did learn along the way and just what gear I switched out as well. So like I said, I hope you find this helpful. If you have any questions, please leave some comments, because I'd love to answer them for you. I realized I also forgot to say in this top pocket, the portion with the mesh that folds in, I forgot to say also my toothbrush and toothpaste was in that as well. Just travel size toothbrush, travel size toothpaste, so make sure I put that in there too.